Welcome to Hacking the Hustle. This is your host, Benjamin Sklar, and I'm very excited to have Jason Hitchcock on the podcast. Jason is the principal and one of the founders of To the Moon Capital, which is a hedge fund investing in DeFi and cross-chain crypto assets. So really excited to have Jason on the show to talk about what his vision is for the future. How you doing, Jason?
Hey, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on. Nice to meet you.
You too. So I'd like to start off with telling us a little bit about your background and how you got into crypto.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think a lot of people probably entered crypto in a similar way where we were aware of, going back a few years in 2017, 2016, like you'd heard about crypto in the news. And so you would think, okay, a lot of bright people seem to say this is the future. I don't really know what that means, but the price of Bitcoin seems to be going up all the time for years. This seems like a bet worth making. I'll buy a little bit. And that's how I first got crypto. And I just kind of held on to it. And I think a lot of people just kind of did something similar at some point in time. Like you buy your crypto because like everyone, that's what you do. You buy it and you hold on to it. Mm-hmm. Hopefully you bought the right one. We all know Bitcoin and there are others. And then I did that. And then like years go on. And I eventually had some, I swapped my Bitcoin for Ethereum. But as time went on, last year, right before this event, like we will call DeFi summer, my friend Boz, who worked in crypto, asked me this question that kind of changed the way. It's kind of a big question, which was, what are you doing with your Ethereum? Mm-hmm. And my reply was just, what do you mean? What am I doing? What can you do with it? I'm holding on to it. And he said, you can do stuff with it and you can get paid for that stuff you do. You can lend it. You can do this thing called staking. There were a bunch of things you could do with it that would earn interest. And I'd never heard of that before. And I thought it was wild. And so I started trying those things. That summer, there were all these kind of apps that kind of came out on Ethereum that were financial, and they needed your crypto in order to work. And so you could just be going around and depositing Ethereum, providing liquidity, doing all sorts of things, and you would get rewarded in tokens. And it opened my eyes to this whole world of how this decentralized Web3 economy works. And I got really excited about it. I saw how much I was earning off of a certain amount of crypto. And so then I just did the math and I was like, okay, well, if I put this much in, what if I put that much in? Will the same number come out or will it be bigger? And lo and behold, when I put more crypto in, like the number went up. And so I just did the math. I then bought that amount of stuff, crypto, kind of like set it up in DeFi. And next thing you know, I'm like getting my income from these types of activities, moving crypto assets around across DeFi protocols. And I live off the yield. And and then as I started to do that, my friends, we would talk about it like, hey friends, I'm earning like a non-trivial amount of money doing this like totally kind of easy thing that's pretty easy to understand. And like, this is the way the new world works. And all of them were like, wow, that's really interesting, but we're really busy with jobs and things. Could you do this for us? And so my friends and I raised a fund to invest in DeFi for people, because this particular style of allocating crypto around makes a lot of sense for investing. And so I think it's going to become increasingly normal. I think we're one of the earlier funds that are turning sort of active managed DeFi investing as a strategy into a product for people. And I think a lot of people will get exposed to it over the next 3 years.
Wow. There's a lot of unpack there.
I know. I just realized you just asked me like a really simple question and I gave you my life story.
No, I love that. Can you explain to the audience, how are you earning yield on the crypto that you're staking, and what is staking?
Yeah. And no, great question, because I don't want to assume everyone knows these terms. I'm going to explain this with an analogy. So the way traditionally, there's all these financial services that we use, credit cards, insurance, we go to the banks and we get loans. When we do that, all of those, we go to like a local bank because we need a loan. That bank, after they, review us and we qualify for a loan, that bank originates that loan from another bank. And like the smaller bank that you're talking to, like they have to pay down that loan too, just like you do. And there's a difference, and like they keep the margin, and that's like they share that with deposits, and like that's how like the world turns around there. Or like with insurance, like I'll just stick with the first example with lending. in the decentralized world, it works a little bit differently. There's a lending protocol, but there's no big bank to like originate a loan. Instead, there's sort of like a big pool of money and like a Wikipedia army of people like you and me. We deposit money into that pool, and that software will use that to lend out money to people. And so instead of like the bank, like the fees that would normally get paid to the bigger bank are paid to people who put money up to be lent out. It's kind of like peer-to-peer lending, but like this is with crypto. And so that's like one way to earn.
Hmm.
And where I'm going with this is there's many financial services that in order for them to deliver their key service, you know, paying out insurance, credit, debt, or allowing for trades to happen, they need like some big pool of capital that they can just like use because like to provide the service.
Mm-hmm.
And in DeFi, that pool of capital does not come from a centralized player. It comes from a decentralized group of people. And so there are many financial services that are being created in DeFi, and each of those financial services tends to need a pool of capital. And so one way to invest is to sort of like recognize that these pools exist and they need your capital for those products to work. And they incentivize you to be what is called a liquidity provider. You give these protocols liquidity, your money, and now they're liquid and like they can do stuff with your money and collect fees on it. And so that's one way that you can participate in DeFi, and you can own like, and the opportunity here is that and I think like this is sort of like the emerging force is that like there's no need to have your money be idle. Like if your money is just sitting in a bank account, it means it's not earning money for you. And in DeFi, basically there's many different types of savings accounts. Like what is a savings account? Isn't a savings account just like where your money is that you can click and go get it? And like right now we all click and go get it out of our bank account. That's a savings account. But a savings account could also be a lending protocol, which has an interface and a button, and you can deposit your money and it will be there for you. It's just being lent out. And anytime you can click it and remove the money and like you've got it. But like while it was being lent out, you were earning fees. So like there's all sorts of verbs basically that you can participate in, DeFi verbs that you can earn fees on.
Mm-hmm. So if someone's listening and they have, let's say, X amount of money they want to invest, they can either put it into the stock market, they could go buy a multifamily apartment building, or they listen to this podcast and are interested in giving you their money. Why should they give you their money?
Well, so I think that, so it's not that you should give me your money. It's that you should consider like what are you trying to accomplish with your money that you're investing, and just consider that there is a once in a generation shift in technology that's going on right now. The last one that was this great might have been like when like electricity or really like, you know, maybe the internet, like the thing that's happening right now is over 70 years, we've been building computers and getting them out there. You know, World War II happened. Then out of that, several mainframe companies emerged out in and like created Silicon Valley. Decades go on, we get the desktop computer, time goes on, the internet, then the iPhone apps, we're all on the phones, we're all connected on social networks. Now, here we are today, pretty much like most of the world, we're getting to the finish line of like everybody in the world has a smartphone. And then now crypto, like apps are being made. And so everything up until now has been like a digital interface to the traditional stack of like the way the world works. Mm-hmm. And that's been the way we've onboarded everyone onto this technology, like this big supercomputer internet thing that we're all on. And that project is really epic, but like now we're ready to begin like phase 2, which is now that we're all on these phones, we now have this new software platform that's emerging, which is the crypto network, and everything inside, all apps on Ethereum, and they work a little bit differently. And they really are the reinvention of, it's like the digital reinvention of how we would do anything. And if like fintech today is like a digital front end to a traditional financial system, in crypto, it's sort of like, it's the promise of fintech. It's a fully reinvented digital financial system from bottom to top. And so as more apps get made in that crypto platform, it's going to get more useful and more useful. And more developers will want to build there as more people are using those apps. And we're all eventually just kind of going to go gravitate onto like this crypto internet, because it's going to be better and more powerful. And so we're all on the smartphones already as a humanity. And the way to onboard to this network is simply like click this button, and we're all ready to do it. And so I think very quickly, there's going to be a lot of apps that are very interesting that are going to tempt us to click the button. And very quickly, 7.5 billion people are going to be using this crypto internet. And right now, like there's 200 million people that are kind of like touching crypto right now. And of those like 200 million people, there's probably just like single digit million, maybe even hundreds of thousands that are active in DeFi. And so like, where's this whole spiel going? Like you asked me about like what to do with your money. This is happening. And everyone, what's interesting about crypto is like, if you own like Ethereum, that's like owning a toll gate. Like, and the whole world is about to walk through the door and join the crypto internet. And the interesting property of this internet is they're going to have to buy their way in. They're going to have to convert their money into crypto. And all of the people that are here now basically get paid when that happens. And so you want to be exposed to crypto while the whole world is still outside and like needs to walk through the front door, because you're the toll person at the front door, and you want to collect as many fees as possible. And so there's different ways to collect those fees. One way to benefit, not the fees, is simply owning the currency. It's going to appreciate. It's finite. It is necessary. Like in this big new internet machine, you need to put a quarter in to make the machine run. Ethereum is the quarter. Like other layer one tokens are those quarters to make the machine run.
Would you recommend I sell my Bitcoin and convert it to Ethereum?
I don't own any Bitcoin because it's just, I believe in it. It's further out on the risk curve. And so, Bitcoin's going to go to $1 million one day. That's it's probably going to happen in the next 10 years. Maybe it's going to happen in 5 years. I don't know. But like, it's in the far off out. It's going to happen. But that's a 20x. There are tokens like Ethereum will have greater multiples in front of it. I think that Atom and Luna and Solana and Polygon, like all these other technologies that are just getting their flywheels going, like as their ecosystems grow, they're all having a Cambrian explosion of startups getting funded and new users. And like the whole market is now doing their research on Atom and Cosmos, and like so all of these are earlier out on the risk curve, and so they have more multiples in front of them. They may not even be as big as Bitcoin ever becomes, but there's more upside. And so like, I think like for people who, oops, I missed Ethereum, oops, I missed Bitcoin, a way to sort of like outperform the market is to move further into the riskier part of the risk curve. And like, I think that's owning Ethereum mostly.
So when people already have Ethereum, they have a Coinbase, how do they get access to DeFi and all of these protocols? What can you educate us on? What are the next steps we need to take? What are the websites? What are the places that we go?
Yeah. So the first thing that you'll need to do to play in DeFi is you're going to need to take custody of your crypto that you want to allocate into DeFi. And there's like things to consider. Like one, gas fees are really high. Transactions cost $30, $40, $50, $100, sometimes $200 or $300 for a single thing that you do. And so that means it needs to earn you more than that, whatever verb you do. And so like, there's a certain amount of money that it makes sense to put into DeFi. And if it's below that, it doesn't make sense to put it there. I'm not sure what that amount is. It could be $50,000, it could be $100,000, like in that range. Below that, you might as well just be like, I don't know, staking to earn. But you're going to get a MetaMask. You're going to want to get a hardware wallet like a Ledger, because once you take money out of your centralized exchange like Coinbase or Binance, it's sort of like now you're out of insurance land. It's like you are now in control of your money. It's no longer Coinbase being responsible for it. And like if they lose it, like they still can replenish that because they're a public company with a reputation. So now you're in control. Like you're going to send the money to your MetaMask, and then there could be things you could do. Like there's exchanges. If you want to swap tokens, you can go to Uniswap and you can connect your wallet, and you can they have way more tokens than there are in on Coinbase. It's like Uniswap is sort of like the Wikipedia of like, imagine anybody could list any asset on the New York Stock Exchange. That's what Uniswap is. Anybody can go to it and be like, I've made a token, let's create a trading pair. And now there's an economy for it. And that's kind of like, it's been an important technology that has made DeFi work, because now all these projects can get liquidity, like, because Coinbase isn't going to list everybody. So what do you do if they don't list you? You can go to Uniswap, they'll list you.
Right.
There's
I got a personal question. So
What?
I got a personal question.
Yeah.
So it's obvious, the writing's on the wall, that crypto and DeFi is the future. I just started working at a law firm called Sullivan and Worcester, and there's a lawyer there at the firm named Joel Telpner, who's a well-known crypto-focused lawyer. What's the advice that you have for me for my career in regards to being a lawyer in the crypto space? What opportunities do you see around the corner?
Well, I mean, I think so. Let's just like look at what's happening. You are going to have a new class of professional that's going to have questions. And they're right now, like, everyone has questions. People have questions about their taxes. These are also people who aren't used to asking these questions. Like, the current category of people are making a lot of money. Their life is changing, and in a way that they didn't anticipate. So people wonder about, like, I wonder this, like, oh, I need to set up an S corp to pay myself. Should I? How do I do that? Why do I do that? People like hear thoughts like, oh, I hear there's tax optimization stuff, and what should I do? Like, and people are like, I don't want to break the law, but I don't want to pay more than I need to. What structure should I set up? Or is what happens if I do? What happens if I do this verb? Like, I don't know. Like, they need to talk to people, and a lot of this is a gray area, and they need to know when they're entering a gray area, like, hey, I'm about to use a VPN to go into an exchange that's banned in the United States. Like, what's really the cost if I do that?
Do you have a lawyer for your fund?
We do have a lawyer for our fund. We work with someone who is a former SEC lawyer who works with a lot of different Cosmos blockchain projects. And so we found a lawyer that was already working with lots of crypto projects and funds, so that we were not their first rodeo.
Good to know. Okay.
So I guess what's my advice to you? My advice to you would be carve out a niche. I would go head on into be like, I'm crypto guy. Like, you got crypto law problem, I'm your crypto solution. And because there's nobody doing that. So I don't know. Or if there are, there's 10. And like, I don't know. There's a lot of people doing everything else in law because, the whole world's existed forever. So.
Right. So let's change topics and talk about your vision for the future. 5 years from now, 10 years from now, where do you see DeFi and the global market for crypto assets?
Okay. Where do I see DeFi in 5 years? In 5 years, there will be $1 trillion in stable coins printed. And I think it will be extremely normal for people. We will start to see in 5 years, regular consumers will be affected by DeFi products that, like, fintech companies will have integrated. So like Robinhood will probably be mostly crypto. They'll get most of their revenue from crypto. You'll be able to buy any token you want on Robinhood. It will be powered by Uniswap. I think most people that we know, I think 90% of people will own crypto in 5 years. I think today there's like this booming conversation of like, oh my gosh, there's so much going on in NFTs and DeFi. I think the volume only turns up over 5 years. And because like right now, it's like, it feels loud, but it's actually very few people. And
you own a CryptoPunk? I know your LinkedIn picture is.
I do. Yeah. And I think that that's going to be super valuable. And I think it's really cool. I really like it. And it symbolizes a lot. It symbolizes participation in this. So like in 5 years, I think that all of the NFTs today that the current collector community values, I think those will only continue to appreciate. And what'll happen is, as 7.5 billion people join, I'm going to make up a number. Let's say there's 50,000 NFT collectors in the world. All right. Or 100,000. Let's go with like really ambitious. No way do I think there's that many, but whatever. 7.5 billion people are going to enter the market. I think let's just say 0.01% of those people also find NFTs interesting. I think it's going to be a bigger percent, but like that number, 0.01% of 7.5 billion, is like 1,000x on the size of the existing collector market, and like they're all going to want to buy CryptoPunks and art blocks, and I think these are going to be worth like hundreds of millions. So
Yeah,
it's going to sound crazy, but and like I think we're going to have in 5 years lots of major brands that are bigger than Supreme, or we're like the biggest brands in the world are going to be crypto native brands. There are going to be brands that are worth hundreds of billions of dollars. All right, hundreds in 5 years. Yeah, like the thought is like Bored Ape Yacht Club, a profile picture thing, kind of like CryptoPunks. They've already done $700 million in aftermarket sales of like their Bored Ape, and it's only existed for 6 months. And if you just look at where this is going, like those are only going to get more valuable, and there's only going to be more people who want them, and they're going to have much more surface area on like ways where like that brand lives. And like in 5 years, it's a lot of time in crypto time. That's like one internet year is 5 crypto years, or 5 crypto. Yeah, 1 year in crypto is 5 internet years, and so it's like that's 20 years or like 25 years of time. And so I just think we're gonna have so many crypto brands that like people will have a hard time today understand. Like our framework today for understanding these companies will make no sense, but they're going to be such huge market cap entities.
If I wanted to create a brand, what would be the steps I would need to take
to create a brand? I think these things, the people who participate see an aspect of themselves in the brand. And so Bored Ape Yacht Club and CryptoPunks, we'll use those examples. I think like there's 3 things to think about. Like there's a framework for like how to create a fandom. And I think the way you want to think about like you're creating a brand is you're creating an object of fandom, like the thing that the fandom loves. And so here's like the 3 ways to think about it. And then you can use this to assess the quality that you can create of this fandom. So thing 1 is basically the emotional range. Being a fan of something, you need to go and experience highs and lows. You need to have something to look forward to, milestones, rituals, things that like basically fire off dopamine and like this is why we participate in fandoms, because we're creatures and we want to live an adventurous, exciting life, but like that's dangerous. And so we go into fandoms where like that stimulates our brains. So that's more like on you to think of the content experience. Like, oh, I'm looking forward to the next podcast. I can't wait for the conference. That was a bad episode. I can't wait for a good episode. Oh, that has an epic guest coming up. Cool. These could be the things. I don't know. 2 is self-identification. People in the fandom need a way to self-identify. They need a way to recognize other fans in the wild. They need a way to look in the mirror and say, I believe you, you are a fan. They need a way to advertise to other people that could be fans, hey, you should join us. And so there's code words that you learn from the podcast, like, oh, only people who know this, who listen to the podcast know this. Like, that's a good theory about Arya Stark. You have to listen to the True Fan podcast. Or, oh, you're a silver status. Like I see that on your banner. You had to apply to get that. That's like not easy. There's only 100 people with silver status. Or like, oh, you have the merch. Yo, you got that 3 years ago. I was there 3 years ago. Like, you're an OG. So like that's one category. And then the other is social spaces, social connection. What is the quality of social spaces that fans can enter and collide and become friends? Because people who are in the same fandom like share, in spite of what they look like or where they're from or anything, they share an extremely specific obsession with some aspect of our culture. Like they're going to love that they met each other, like you too. And so good social media, good Discord, good IRL events. Like, what is it? Like the more vivid those experiences, like the more people are more likely to form friendships. And when people form a friendship in your fandom, then your fandom is more important to them. It's like they actually credit you. They're like, oh, I've met people who love Harry, like in the Harry Potter community, they refer to it as the community when really it's like, I bought the product and like, I met someone I like, and like, there you go. That was enough. And so then I think it's more useful to say like how to build a brand is what's the quality and depth and nuance that you bring to each of these buckets? Emotional range, self-identification, and social connection. And like that's more useful because we don't know what the right answer is, right? And like that's a framework that I created, I used at Twitch to evaluate our brand for like engendering fandom.
Tell us what you did at Twitch.
I led a thing called fandom strategy. So we had we have an original content team at Twitch. They're sort of like Twitch originals, where sort of tier one, where basically Twitch would say Twitch operates channels like Twitch Gaming, Twitch Music, and they fill that with content. And so one example of a thing I worked on was called Twitch Rivals, where every week Twitch puts up, 100 grand, invites a bunch of, influencers to come play a Fortnite tournament. They all compete, they all stream. The winner, they all split the money. It's a great time. It looks like Monday Night Football, and a million people tune in and like they watch their heroes, compete for money, and like everyone loves it. And then Twitch sponsors the crap out of it. And so I would assess like how do we create a fandom around this show, and then I would apply that framework to something else, like, oh, Twitch has like a weekly show, or this other channel that's more focused on it's kind of like E3, but it's always on. Like that's the type of content there. So like, what does it mean to engender fandom around that? Yeah, so that's like what I would do.
Interesting. All right, last question, back to crypto. What, similar to China, what happens if the United States bans crypto?
They're not going to ban crypto. Gary Gensler actually just yesterday in a hearing said that they're not going to ban it. They're looking at regulating it. I think regulation is good. Regulation is a sign of progress. It means we are here, we're mature. It's so big, it needs to be like we need to protect consumers. We need to protect all sides of the market. Like that's what happens. Like there are no unregulated markets of consequence. Like all markets, they literally exist as a function of regulation. That is what the market really is. We need to decide things like, stable coins we need to understand what's the deal with stable coins, yay or nay. We need to understand custody. I think a lot of financial institutions they have no clarity on how to take custody of tokens. It's like really nuanced, like the questions. And then we need to understand securities laws. Like are all these securities, like what's going on there? And then, so those are the main questions. They're going to get resolved. So I don't know. The thing that I'm most concerned about is basically, the bad thing can happen for literally everything on crypto. The one thing that we can't lose out on is custody. We need to have custody of our crypto. If they say centralized entities, like no more self-custody, it's got to be Coinbase now, that like that's where you deposit your crypto, like it's the law. That's going to be concerning, and that could be like the end of it all. The end, like we have to win that one. That's the one issue that like we must win.
Break that down.
It's just if we don't have custody of our crypto, then it can be taken from us. And so like if like all the time, it's like you can't withdraw from Binance. They're fixing stuff. Well, great. If they can do that, then there's a choke point in the system that someone could one day take over this trusted third party, centralized exchanges. They could take over, and they could kick you out of the system, just like the way that you're banned from such and such website, or you're no longer,
it makes me think of the Constitution and civil liberties and
yeah. And like the analogy here would be like, you could get banned from Uber, but like you couldn't get banned from taking a taxi in New York City. Like a taxi would be difficult to stop taxis from picking you up because they don't know anything about you. Whereas Uber knows everything about you, and like they could ban you from it. It's just a different, and so like we need to have a system more like the taxi system. For like that is what is different about the new crypto internet is it has that property, and that's a really interesting property. And we don't get it if it's all on self custody, because it could all stop.
I didn't know about this problem. So before I let you go, I'm asking my signature question, which is, if there was one thing you could do to improve this world, what would you do and why?
If there was one thing I could do to improve this world, okay. Well, I always think about like if I was president, like what would my agenda look like? And I have like a few kinds of things that sound silly. So like I believe that like a lot of our policy that we talk about in the United States and really like a lot of governments, it's always we're trying to create like some sort of base level survival, like 'cause we have a lot of survival policies. And I think like there's another category of stuff that is valid that we don't talk about, which is like awesome policies. Like what if we had what if we funded like what if everyone got a personal trainer and a nutritionist? And what if everyone got like I don't know, like things like that? Or what if we funded and had farmers markets all around the country and we were just like that's a thing people can work on full time and we always have those. Like there's things that would be awesome to have that are not like the bare minimum. Like I'm like and we never talk about like wouldn't it be cool if or like what if everyone in America, I don't know, this is gonna sound stupid. What if we send everyone a t-shirt? Or like in Finland, like everyone gets a box when like they have a kid, like they get this cool fun box with like all these fun outfits in it that look trendy and like they're for your kid. I think there's fun stuff we should be doing like that. It sounds small, but I think it would bring a lot of delight. What if everyone had a trainer? I think a lot of people would love to be a trainer, like for like that'd be a great job. That's their passion. It'd be great to not have to like always be looking for clients. Everyone would be healthier. And then if we had farmers markets everywhere and nutritionists, like everyone could be eating really awesome. That should be a mission we have as a country. Like everyone should strive to like we as a country should strive to have like amazing, like everyone should be able to treat their body like a temple. And that could be like a cool policy. I don't know.
You could get a lot of bipartisan support behind that, but I think the pharmaceutical lobby
there's real stuff in there. Like there's food deserts. Michelle Obama really talked a lot about this stuff, and like there's a lot of people that don't have the opportunity to be healthy. And frankly, I think food should be free, and like access to being healthy should be free, and like there should be a bare minimum that like is provided to everybody.
Really
why not? It's probably really cheap.
Interesting. I guess I'll leave you at it. Everybody
buy Ethereum. That is not that is something to consider.
Yeah, the final words. What are your last?
Own a piece of the internet. The next internet is here. It has users. More developers build on it every single day. More money flows into it every day. All the metrics are going up. Everything that we look at in like the tech world for what's a good investment, we see it in like everything happening on Ethereum. And if you don't know how to pick companies, that's really hard to do. Pick Ethereum because Ethereum wins when any one thing wins on Ethereum. Ethereum wins at the end of the day. And so I think it's like the best. I think it's the best asset to own. It's the most exciting asset you could possibly own. It's thrilling.
Well, thanks to you, I'm going to convert my Bitcoin into Ethereum because I trust your word.
You need to understand that there's been a lot of like, what advice? I am not giving financial advice, but this is what I do and what I believe. And I just think there's a lot of upside in front of Ethereum. It just got going.
Well said. All right, Jason, thank you so much for hopping on the show. It was great hearing what you had to say. I think it was really eye-opening for me and those listening.
Well, thanks for having me on. If you liked what I had to say, I'm Jason Hitchcock on Twitter. I'm always there. I'm available. You can DM me. Happy to give you tips. If you're thinking about crypto and DeFi and NFTs, I can help you navigate.
Awesome. I'll add it in the show notes.
Cool.
All right, Jason. Have a good day.
You too.
Yeah.